When we consider the effort that goes in to starting those seeds and growing out a nice transplant, is it really worth it? What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having a fantastic day. It is Thursday, September 5th here in South Georgia, and on today's video I'm going to tell you about 5 things you can plant in the fall that you may not want to start from seed. So I was over here near the greenhouse this morning thinking about getting some lettuce started for fall, and if you've been following the channel a while, you know we are big proponents of growing your own plants for the backyard garden, teaching yourself how to do seed starting. It's a very, very valuable skill to have, and once you get the hang of it, you can grow your own plants, save a good bit of money, and grow varieties that you might not necessarily be able to find at your local stores. But as I was over here this morning, I got to thinking, well, maybe there are a few things I probably wouldn't recommend starting from seed. We have started a lot of these things from seed in the past, but I'm just not sure it's worth it anymore. And this year, I think for these 5 things, I'm just going to go buy some plants. And there's a lot of reasons I'm probably just going to buy plants for these 5 things as opposed to starting them from seed, and we'll go through those in a minute. But unless you're a market farmer and you're growing stuff to sell, a lot of these things I'm going to mention we only need 1, 2, maybe 3 plants of. So yes, it is always cheaper to buy seeds versus buying plants. If you think about it, a pack of seeds usually costs about the same as buying one single plant at a local nursery or box store. Say $4 for a pack of seeds, or maybe, you know, $4 for a plant. So if it's something that we're only needing 1, 2, maybe 3 plants of, we're never really going to get our money's worth out of that pack of seeds. Yes, we could start all the seeds, but we're not going to need or use all those plants. And when we consider the effort that goes in to starting those seeds and growing out a nice transplant, is it really worth it, or should we just go buy those 1 or 2 plants we need? So let's get into our list of 5 here, and number 1 on our list is celery. Now, celery probably doesn't rank very high on the list of the most popular things grown in a backyard garden. If I think about it, how many times a year I would maybe go to the grocery store and buy celery? Probably not that often, maybe 5 or 6 times. But homegrown celery is absolutely delicious. It's one of those things that tastes so much better than the celery you buy at the grocery store. There's so much more flavor in homegrown celery. So even if you don't use a lot of celery currently, I think if you had it really available in your backyard garden, you can just go out there and pluck a few stalks when you need it, and you saw how much more flavor was in that homegrown celery, you'd probably find a lot more ways to use it. So if you've never grown celery, it's a cool season veggie. Now, I'm not exactly sure how cold tolerant it is, but I know it grows throughout the winter just fine down here in South Georgia. So in the past, I have grown my own celery transplants with some success, but it is really tough to start from seed. Not that tough to get it germinated, but it takes forever to grow out a viable transplant. So even if you do everything right, you've got the perfect conditions for growing out some nice celery seedlings, it's still going to take you 8 to 12 weeks from the time you put that seed in a tray to get a nice viable transplant that's ready to go in the ground. That's a long, long time. And honestly, most families are only going to need 2 or 3 celery plants in a pot or a raised bed in their backyard garden. I have planted a whole row of celery before, and it's way more celery than we can eat. Usually 2 or 3 plants is enough, and you can just go out there and pluck a stalk when you need it. Those plants will get quite large as they grow throughout the winter and give you a lot of groceries for just 2 or 3 plants. So when we consider the effort it takes to grow out some nice celery transplants compared to the fact that we only need 2 or 3 plants, I think you're much better off just going and buying a few celery plants if you can find them. Now, if you can't find celery plants locally, you might want to try starting them from seed. Just know you're going to have a lot of patience. Number 2 is dill. Dill is another thing that does really great for us in the cooler months down here. And as the holidays roll around and you start making some of those deviled eggs, nothing is better than some fresh dill from the backyard garden sprinkled on top of those nice deviled eggs. Now, unlike celery, dill is pretty easy to start from seed. You can grow out a nice dill transplant pretty easily with not a lot of effort. And I know some people that just have them kind of a permanent dill bed. Dill will volunteer like crazy once it goes to seed. Those little seeds will fall on the ground and then it will start sprouting up everywhere. So you could have a permanent bed of dill, but a lot of people just kind of replant it every fall. So although it is easy to grow your own dill plants, here we go back to that same argument before. If we're really only needing a few dill plants, we're never going to use that whole packet of dill seed, and might just be better off going and buying a couple of dill plants, because that's all we're really going to need. Number 3 on the list is parsley. Now, I don't eat a ton of parsley, but I like having it in the cool season garden. Parsley is one of the most cold tolerant things you can grow throughout the winter months. I've never seen parsley really get burnt back that bad, even when it gets, say, low 20s around here. Parsley is really, really tough, loves the winter weather, and it's just nice to have. We're not going to use it a lot in the kitchen, but when I do want to use it, I've got it right there in the backyard grocery store. Now, much like dill, parsley is pretty easy to start from seeds, not difficult at all to grow out your own parsley plants. But if you're only needing 2 or 3 parsley plants, why do you want a whole pack of seeds that you're never really going to use? So if I see some parsley plants when I'm out and about, I'll grab me 1 or 2 of those instead of trying to grow my own parsley plants. Number 4 on our list is cilantro, and of all the things on the list, this is probably the one I use the most of. Now, I realize some people have an intolerance to cilantro. It tastes like soap when they eat it. Thankfully, I don't have that problem. I absolutely love cilantro, and I put way more than the average person would on a taco, burrito, some kind of dish like that. But even though I'm going to use more cilantro than probably I would celery, parsley, or dill, I'm still not going to need as many cilantro plants as I can get out of that seed packet. So probably just going to buy some cilantro plants. Even though we eat a lot of it, 2 or 3 plants is usually enough. You can feed it well. That stuff grows out really well, gets nice and big and bushy, and so I'm just going to buy cilantro plants this year. I'm not going to start my own seeds. Number 5 on our list is rosemary. Now, I don't use a ton of rosemary, and I should probably figure out more ways to integrate it into our cooking, but I absolutely love rosemary on taters. So we take some of those taters that we harvested in the spring, quarter them up, toss them in some olive oil and salt, sprinkle some rosemary on top of them, and roast them, and man, you talking about some good stuff. Now, a lot of people may have an established rosemary plant that they've had for a long time. Once you get a rosemary plant established, it's pretty difficult to kill. A lot of people down here have them, you know, on their back patio or somewhere, not necessarily in their garden, maybe in a pot by their door so they can walk out there easily and harvest them a few sprigs. But if you want to plant some rosemary, I'd highly recommend just buying the plants. But you can buy rosemary seed, and I have done it in the past, and I have tried to grow my own rosemary plants. It is extremely difficult to get rosemary to germinate from seed. It will make you scratch your head wondering why those seeds won't germinate. Now, one year I also tried propagating rosemary, cutting some of those little sprigs and sticking them down in a little small pot of seed starting mix, and that worked okay. I think that's a lot easier than trying to start them from seed. So if you have one rosemary plant and you want maybe to have more than one plant, you can try that. That's going to be a much better option than trying to start more from seeds. But I think altogether you're still better off just going out and buying another rosemary plant. So while I'm a huge proponent of learning new skills to help you better grow your own food, there are some things that just may not be worth the headache and effort. Now, if it's something you just feel like mentally you've got to conquer, growing your own celery plants or growing your own cilantro plants, by all means go for it. But think about the time it's going to go into it and whether or not you're really willing to invest that time, or whether you just want to go spend, you know, $4 or $8, buy a couple plants. Now the kicker to all this that I kind of alluded to earlier is variety. For some of these things, there are varieties that may perform better in your climate compared to what you're going to find in the plant section at your local store. So there are hybrid varieties of celery that are supposed to perform better in warmer climates. There are hybrid varieties of cilantro that are supposed to be slower to bolt or slower to go to seed. So if you struggle with those things, you may want to buy some seeds that are supposed to be better performing than those plants you'll find at the store and try to grow them out yourself. But if you're just wanting a little bit of celery, dill, or parsley to use just kind of every now and then, I wouldn't recommend buying a pack of seeds. Just go get yourself a plant and save yourself the trouble. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and please do share with me in the comments below if there's anything else where you just would rather go buy a plant or two versus trying to grow your own plants. And if you want to see the stuff we are growing our own plants for, watch this video right here when we got our fall seed starting kicked off a few weeks ago. We'll show you all the things that we put in that tray, show the entire seed starting process, how we do it to ensure some really good germination. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.